All right, Paulie, without revealing state secrets, as you are an advisor, just curious, it worked as well as you could possibly hope for it to work in Rome. Might Luke Donald change it up, and if so, why?
So, yeah, I mean, look, on one hand, you've got tried, trusted, proven partnerships that work so well in Rome. And there's a strong argument you could say, why would you want to mess with that? They're obviously proven. We've struggled for a number of years to get a real good partner for Rory McIlroy. We obviously found one in Rome in terms of the foursomes with Tommy. Why would you swap that up? And then on the other hand, we are dealing with this away match differently than we have done before. And just because something works at home doesn't necessarily mean it works away. So Luke is aware of that. Now, that doesn't mean we dismiss everything we've done before. But, you know, the key is Luke going to be predictable and do what we expect him to do based on what happened in Rome? Or is he going to throw a little bit of a cat among the pigeons and throw up some of these partnerships and go up with new ones? Now, he may do that because of two things. A, form moves. Players are not the same quality that they were 2 years ago. Some are playing a little bit better, some are playing a little bit worse. Players don't, it's not a dead even keel. They don't have exactly the same skill sets. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, you know, where the confidence level is. Second thing is the golf course itself here in Bethpage is different. It's not set up. Quite clearly, it was a good setup there for foursomes in Rome between iron players play these holes and drivers and putters hit over here. And now it's a little bit different here in Bethpage. Eduardo Molinari, our stat guy behind the scenes, who did a phenomenal job in Rome. Obviously, he's involved again here now. He's aware of all of that, and he's got some ideas that he's put forward with Luke. So the question is, does he stick or does he twist?
Yeah, I certainly don't want you to reveal any state secrets, but I think it's pretty safe to say he's going to lead with his strength. You know, he's going to find some guys out there who can fade it for the left to right holes, find some guys out there who draw it comfortably. They'll be teeing off on the right to left holes. We'll get more into that in a minute. He's going to try to match up some great iron players. I mean, typically the thought is in foursomes is that you put your best ball strikers out there. You push your best iron players out there. And I have no doubt that we'll see a surprise or two, but for the most part, I think it's probably safe to say we're going to see his best iron players going out there. And we'll see a lot of the same teams that we've seen. I wouldn't surprise me if we had one or two.
There's been one point as well, Brandel, that, you know, the narrative is building up that this first game in the first session is so important. This first morning, you got to get a lead, and if you don't, you're in trouble, Well, when I was captain in 14, we lost the first session. Yeah. Went on to win the Ryder Cup. 18, we lost the session 3-1 and very nearly 4-0. We were on our knees, and we came back to win relatively comfortably in the end. So it's not the be-all and end-all.
Skunked them in the next one.
Yeah, if you don't come out of the blocks quick. So the first session, of course, is important. It's a great chance to get ahead, but it's not the be-all. It's not going to determine the winning.
But it has been a great predictor of who's going to win. It's been a great predictor for sure. Obviously, there are exceptions to that. That first, I mean, just in general, I think you would agree that you cannot overstate the importance of foursomes, because it's not just about points on the board. I think it speaks to the level of confidence that the players have in the captain has in the players, and it's also about blending personalities. It's about blending games. It's about blending equipment. It's about blending strategy and putting all that together. It's the most difficult of the sessions. Would you agree as the captain?
I fully agree with that.
Speaking of blending, absolutely. Todd just told us possibility. Look for foursomes, maybe first out. Bryson and Justin Thomas, what'd you make of that? Does that make sense to you in any way?
Yeah, look, I mean, I'd be surprised if Bryson didn't play all 5 matches. And I'll say that because this golf course is not a major championship setup. The fairways have been widened. The rough has been cut. It's going to be soft. Bryson it may well be, and again, the data's hard to find on Data Golf, but if you go look and you stack it up, the best driver in this field likely is not Scotty Scheffler. It likely is not John Rahm. It is likely Bryson DeChambeau. And you got all these right to left holes out there, 2, 4, 6, 12, 16. So it would surprise me if Bryson teed off first on 1. For sure, because if you're looking at the odd holes, 1, 5, 7, and 13, they're left to right. So, you know, maybe he gets out there with Justin Thomas. You know, I would put Bryson with Ben Griffin as well. I would put Bryson with Cameron Young. But, you know, he does have the luxury of all that length. And if we're looking at the importance, going back to 2014, of the foursomes, and you know that line, that great line in Gladiator, win the crowd, win your freedom, well, you could put a little twist on that and say win the foursomes and win the Ryder Cup. Go back to 2014, and you look at the foursomes, of course, Paul opened up with 4-ball, but the very next session, they boat raced the United States. And you can see the same thing happen in 2023, whereas Europe was 4-0 after the first session. The only winning team on the U.S. side in foursomes was Max Homa, Brian Harmon. They're not here. Their form has fallen off a little bit, so they're not here. So you see the advantage that you get in foursomes, and it just speaks that you get to go to that well over and over and over again throughout the Ryder Cup, Paul.
I mean, that graphic there spoke exactly to the point that you make. Foursomes alternate shot is the most volatile of the three. It's where the players are thrown out of the comfort zone. In the 4-ball, they're playing their own ball. They're playing the golf course on their own, in their own terms. Singles, obviously, the same. When it goes to alternate shot, it's different. And sometimes they're not using a ball that they normally use. So players are out of the comfort zone, and that's why you see a bit of volatility. And as that point that you made there, the team that wins the foursome sessions over the 2 days generally goes on to win the Ryder Cup. That's the differentiator between the two teams, generally, is the foursomes.
Yeah.
Going back to your point about Bryson, Rich, and how they're going to come out. My feeling, and we just saw it in the speech there, Keegan is a very passionate guy. He's a very proud American. He's going to lean into that strongly. He's got New York roots. He's going to lean into that strongly. He's aware of the importance of the home crowd. He's going to lean into that strongly. So when you put all of those there together, he's a high-energy guy. He's going to go for high energy in that first game. He's not going to softly go into
So that
this.
makes sense to you, Thomas and DeChambeau.
I don't know about Thomas, but I'm certainly seeing DeChambeau in that first game. I see him coming out of the blocks fast, with high energy, getting that crowd going, and really knocking the roof off this place
By the way,
in terms of noise.
Do you like that if you're Europe? Chance to take the air out of the balloon right away?
Well, I think that's the risk.
Well,
it's a big risk.
Yeah, I mean, he's not Tiger and Phil in 2004. I mean, that was a massive balloon there that was ready to be shot down, and we certainly sucked the air out of the American team by taking them out in that first morning. But yeah, I mean, he is something there. I mean, the guys going up against him, they won't be afraid. Don't worry.
Yeah,
we won't be afraid.
The loudest cheers.
We'll relish that.
The loudest cheers for the USA when Keegan was introducing his team were Scotty Scheffler, were Cameron Young, and were Bryson DeChambeau. So look, maybe it wouldn't surprise me, but it also is a risk. You know, if Bryson gets out there and
would you put Scotty out first then?
Of course I would.
Would you?
I would.
You put Scotty and Henley out first.
I'd put Scotty and Henley out first. As a matter of fact,
Patrick and Xander.
And I'd probably save them for last, although that didn't work out in Rome. But again,
he's got great options.
Playing away is a little different than playing at home. So even when you look at, Tommy Fleetwood, and he's got this great record in the Ryder Cup, but if you look at what he did when he played on foreign soil, it wasn't near as good. Didn't win a single point back in 2021. So there might be a change, but just trying to prognosticate and put some teams out there. Try to put some teams out for the United States, and generally you're going to lead with strength because it is so important. That first match of the first session, when it's been a win, it has predicted the winner of the Ryder Cup 68% of the time. So this is, just giving you some food for thought for the U.S. team. Scotty Scheffler, Russell Henley, I think, they've played together all three practice rounds. McIlroy and Fleetwood would not surprise me if they went right out there, put them right out there at the gate. I mean, they blend so well together with the draws of McIlroy. Fleetwood can work at any direction. Bryson DeChambeau, again, hits such beautiful draws. Ben Griffin, beautiful fades. Ben Griffin, marvelous in every aspect of the game. And we'll talk a little bit more in depth about it's, a lot of people will say Bryson DeChambeau's iron game isn't that good. I think we should get into that in a little bit more detail here in a minute. Again, Rahm fading it. We'll expect to see him off of one. Hatton can work at either direction. I mean, just a beautiful ball striker. Look, I've seen Justin Thomas and Cameron Young out there going at it. It's important, I think, with four rookies. And, Paul, you can speak to this. I mean, you do want to get your rookies out there all playing in day one. So you got to get, I think, 2 rookies in the first session. And you've done that with Ben Griffin. And you've done that with Cameron Young. I think that's important. Cantlay, Schauffele. Look, I mean, Schauffele's not quite playing as well as he was a couple of years ago. The driver's a little bit in question. But, again, he draws it. Cantlay can fade it. You go over and look. Rahm, Hatton or Lowry, Fitzpatrick. That's a little bit different. Lowry played with Straka in 2023, but Straka, for personal reasons, got some health issues in the family, hasn't been playing as well. Hopefully, everything's fine at home. And his head's right where it needs to be, and his game's right where it needs to be. But Fitzpatrick, his most recent form has been absolutely brilliant. And, of course, again, Oberg and Hovland have won this year. Hovland almost won a major championship this year. Their games are not quite as strong as they were a couple of years ago. But listen, I know, and you have the privilege of working with the team. You know the pairings. I'm not asking you to give away state secrets, but would you differ with any?
So don't
I understand. I'm not going to go. But would you differ with any of those, or how could you argue for or against a team without giving it up?
It's hard to argue against them. And, I always felt when I was captain, you hear rumors when you're on the ground and when you're a vice captain as well. You hear rumors about what America do. Oh, he's going to play with who? He's going to play with who? And when you get in the chair as a captain, you think, when you hear these rumors, you go, that's not good to me. I need to know what number they're playing. If I knew what number they were playing, I can counter it. But if you're going to tell me who's playing with who, it makes no difference because you don't know what number they're playing. And you never find out what number they're playing. So that's always the interesting thing is to find out who's going to go out and what numbers they're going to go out, not necessarily the pairings.
And Mr. Paul, would you leave it to the players to decide who's going to go off on one or two? Because I do want to go into some of these aerials, and we'll take a look at the uniqueness of this golf course and how left to right holes are 1, 5, 7, and 13. Let's take a look. And over there on the left, you see players who their ball flight preference is a fade. Scheffler, Morikawa, Spahn, Griffin, Hovland, Rahm. They can set up on the first hole and hit these power fades, right around the corner, try to get it in the fairway, and then set up for great iron play for their opponent. And that sets them up off the first, not a particularly long hole. Again, this golf course sort of eases players into it, but begins to have some bite beginning at the third and the fourth, and here at the fifth, 478. You're trying to hit a cut around that corner, get it out there in a good spot. So again, you would like to, at least in theory, I think, match some guys who faded off of the tee because of the way these golf course plays out, with so many draw holes and so many fade holes just lined up in odds and evens. Again, that's the seventh hole, 524-yard par 4, very important. Even though the rough's only 2 inches, it is important to get around there. It is an advantage to get it in the fairway. We'll take a look at 2. Look at the draw players over on the left. Imagine Bryson DeChambeau getting up here. Xander Schauffele turning around the corner. McIlroy. Straka's not so long, but Lowry's comfortable working it either direction, but certainly with the draws there. Again, not a long hole here at the second to sixth. Again, only 408, so some good opportunities here to turn it around the corner, get it over the bunker, and then set their opponent, or not their partner up for a nice approach shot into the green. Great opportunity at the 12th. And again, this was such a controversial hole if we go back to 2002, but my goodness, how the game has changed since 2002. Here we are in 2025, and that bunker will not be a problem for Bryson DeChambeau, not be a problem for Xander Schauffele, certainly not for Rory McIlroy. They'll be able to turn it around there and again set their players up. So I ask you, Paul, as a captain, do you get into the strategy of who's going to tee off on what hole in the foursomes?
Yeah, there's a meeting between the data analyst, in this case Eduardo Molinari, who we all really implicitly trust, probably the caddy as well as the player and the captain, and they'll sit down and they'll have a plan. This plan is well in advance at this stage, by the way. This is not something they're dreaming up now.
Would they have had this in plan before you got here and played practice rounds just upon?
Yeah. We had this before we got in our practice trip. We had a broad, it tailors down as the week goes on, but there's a broad plan before we got in the plane to come here. Absolutely, 2 weeks ago.
It sounds the same on Keegan's part. He's like, listen, we've been working for 2 years. We got plans in place. Yeah.
One of the things, and I'll always remember this, it's really important, is Corey Pavin. I remember he asked a question. I was a vice captain of Monty in 2010. And he was asked at a press conference, he said, any advice that you've got over the 2 years, Corey? And at this stage, data had not really come in the way it has done now. And it applies even more so now that data has come in. And he had an unbelievable answer. And I'm pretty sure it was Bill Belichick he quoted as giving him this advice. Always remember to make the big thing the big thing. It's easy to go granular. It's easy to go down rabbit holes. And you lose the wood for the trees and you lose a big picture of what's going on. And as a captain, your job is always to pull back and look at big picture stuff. And you can go a little bit too granular and make decisions based on small granular things rather than big things. So it's important to have people around you that are pulling you into that big thought process.
What's the big thing this week?
The big thing is dealing with the crowd, performing on an away territory, and if you look at how badly we've performed on the road, we've been hammered 3 of the last 4 times on the road, except for the Miracle Medina, by an average of 7 points. And it's not because we were beaten by an American team that just played unbelievable golf. It's because our standards dropped. So we as a team have to find a way of performing better in a hostile environment than we have done in the past.
I just want to say that, from what I've read, you began preparing for that, well, long ago, but certainly in January when you have that competition between Great Britain and Ireland and continental Europe. The word is that you had the speakers blaring USA, USA, USA while the players were teeing off. The word is that you hired an American comedian to heckle the players out there and trying to set up and simulate exactly what they were going to face right here. So you guys don't miss a beat in your preparation for the crowds.
I'll let Luke talk about that.
Well, Paulie, do you think we
are
could
coming at it differently?
Do you think we could get the comedian to come in here and heckle Brando?